It is it's an anniversary. And I want to talk about something of which Cassandra is like a foremost expert on, Waco, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. But first, check this out. This is mind-blowing. And I wonder if you know this too, Cassandra. Yesterday, the ATF tweeted, "We remember the fallen agents, Conway LeBleu, Special Agent Todd McKeon, Special Agent Robert Williams, Special Agent Steve Willis, who made the ultimate sacrifice trying to execute a search warrant. Learn more. Remember Waco, February 28th, 1993. Now, Cassandra, that tweet triggers you, right?
I am taking deep breaths over here. Wait. You reading it got me mad all over again.
All right. Did you know that in 2020, they tweeted the same thing?
Yeah, and I think I flipped out last year.
Yeah, every year.
Wait. And you know the year before that, they tweeted the same thing?
Yep. Yeah, so ever since I made my Twitter account, I think in 2013 or something, every single year on Waco, I've gone into like long thread rant crazy person because I've been obsessed with Waco since I was little. I remember seeing it on the news. I think I was like 8 years old, and it was horrifying.
So break down what happened for everybody who's not super familiar.
Our government murdered our kids, basically. No, what actually happened was the Branch Davidians were living in a compound in Waco, Texas, obviously. And ATF and FBI had just flubbed massively a raid on Ruby Ridge. And they shot a woman who was holding her 10-month-old baby, their 14-year-old son, while trying to like stake out and arrest this guy. And so everybody was really pissed off about it. Everybody was like enraged, and ATF looked bad. FBI looked bad. People were really angry at them. So they were like, let's get a win. Let's go and save these kids from this bad, evil cult. And so David Koresh, the leader of the Branch Davidians, he would jog into town every day. He was close to the local sheriff. The people there were all, easily accessible, friendly with the community. The sheriff loved him. They called him when they were getting raided. But they wanted to make a big spectacle about arresting David Koresh because he had some illegal gun parts. They sold stuff at gun shows. It was, whatever.
Gun control.
Yeah. So U.S. government gun control is really scary. So basically what happened is on February 28th, 1993, they went and they were going to go serve a warrant, but they wanted it to be flashy. They wanted to have a big blowout. And so they invited the local news to come. Well, the local news driver got lost, and he asked a USPS driver how to get to the Mount Caramel, which was the Branch Davidian compound. And that guy happened to be a Branch Davidian. So he warned everybody who was back at the compound that something was going wrong and something weird was happening. So they all got ready, and they didn't come out. And they weren't going to come out. And so ATF breached the top window. There's a very famous video of them going up on a ladder, and a shootout took place inside. Some members of the ATF were killed, and they retreated, and a standoff ensued for 51 days where they were torturing the people inside. There were, I think, 27 women, 25 children who died. But for 51 days, they tortured these people. They would play sounds of rabbits being slaughtered, which is a horrific sound, like really loud through the speakers. They wouldn't give them milk. They turned off the electricity. There were a lot of babies in there, and they couldn't eat. So they made a deal to give them milk, but then they put like recording devices in it. It was just really bad. They did things there that would be considered a war crime if we did it in another nation. And then ultimately in April, it culminated with a CS gas attack. They went and they told Janet Reno that they believed that David Koresh was beating babies and raping babies, none of which was true. He had married a 14-year-old, but that was legal in Texas at the time. I personally disagree with that, as most people would, but it was legal. And so none of this was true. They admitted like 5 months after the siege that this wasn't true. But because they told her that babies were being like beaten, she was like, okay, go in with CS gas. And the FBI, the few sympathetic negotiators were like, they're not going to have gas masks for kids. And, the FBI were like, well, they'll have to come out faster then. So on the final day, they started piercing the building with tanks and shooting CS gas in, which by this point the government knew was flammable. We had seen the Move bombing and several other raids that ended up turning buildings into bombs because you're putting gas into a building and breaking it apart. And they didn't have the fire department there. So the building caught fire. There's a debate if it was the ATF that started the fire or if it was the Branch Davidians. But either way, they did not have the fire department there to stop it. And so the women and children went and hid in a half-buried bus. And because the tanks were knocking down the building, the door to get out got barricaded. And so they shot tear gas into where the women and children were. And they died. They suffocated. The whole building went up in an inferno. Only a few people made it out. It's one of the greatest American tragedies, in my opinion.
That's heinous.
Sorry, that was really long.
No, that's
and
great.
I'm sure there's a whole bunch. That was the quick version. That was a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then every year, the ATF on Twitter commemorates the fallen servicemen over what was probably one of the most horrific atrocities.
And
in
they
American
never
history.
say anything about the women or children or men who were killed in there. But you know what the Branch Davidians do? Every year they have a memorial at Mount Carmel, and they also remember the ATF who died.
Wow.
Along with their own people. The ATF doesn't do that.
I mean, I feel for the ATF, the families of these men who lost their lives.
Sure.
But we clearly know who was in the wrong on this one.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sad when I hear about war and I hear any like people, and I don't want anyone to die. You know what I mean?
My issue is that they only remember the ATF people. There were 27 children in there, 2 unborn babies.
Yep.
And they killed them. Whether Koresh started the fire or not, which I personally don't believe, but you know, that's their theory. Even if that's true, they were shooting CS gas into a building, did not have the fire department on standby, knowing that it starts fires. And they could have arrested him anytime he jogged into town, and they didn't because they wanted to show for the cameras.
Right.
This was all on them. And they don't even memorialize the babies that they killed. It infuriates
Well, they'd have to
me.
admit
I'm
fault to
sorry.
them. They'd have to admit that they killed these children.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is even outside of fire, you don't fire CS gas into a closed building because it displaces oxygen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was in Turkey, and there was a parking garage. This was during Gezi Park. And they were very liberally using tear gas, as it were. Just like there was so much tear gas on the ground, you were walking and kicking cans out of the way. And I remember seeing a bunch of the activists running into a tunnel. And then when the police fired tear gas into it, the next thing we saw was a bunch of people dragging bodies out. As soon as that gas filled the whole space up, there was no air anymore. People were just dropping to the
out.
ground. So what did the ATF think was going to happen if they started firing tear gas into a closed building?
Well, they claim that it would make the women want to protect their children and run out with their babies. But, they had been terrorizing these people for 51 days. Why would they trust them to leave the building?
Yeah.
If I
and a
was them,
shootout,
I
too.
would have thought they were going to kill me.
They
So
were, and they did.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was talking to somebody about this on the anniversary, and they were like, well, that sounds like it was handled, less than responsibly. I was like, yeah. And I was like, this is worse than war, because this is the government of your own country taking you out. I was like, I admittedly, that was the first time I had looked into it, was yesterday on the anniversary. And I was horrified. I found pictures. I saw like the fireball, the charred remains. Yeah. And I sent that picture, and I was like, I mean, look at this. You can tell me what you want.
The
but
government bulldozed that whole site like a week later, too.
Wow.
They didn't even like go and collect all the evidence. They were like, let's just get rid of this. Like quite literally.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
My dad's from Waco.
I get infuriated.
yeah.
My dad's on my
family's from
family
there.
is from Waco, so there's like nothing really related to that because I think they left well before 1993.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a lot of stories of people who knew people and like how crazy it was.
Well,
That's nuts.
David Thibodeau, who's one of the people who escaped from the fire, he has a book called Waco, A Survivor's Story. I cannot recommend this book enough. It's what the Paramount and Netflix docudrama was based on, partially. Gary Nosner, the FBI negotiator, he also wrote a book, and they merged the two books to make the series. But he's one of the nicest guys I've ever talked to. I've interviewed him, and I just think he is such a wonderful person, and it breaks my heart that they killed the woman that he loved. It's all very sad. I highly recommend that book or the Paramount series to anyone who wants to learn more about Waco.
Didn't Bill Barr do something where he got someone off?
Yeah, he defended them, saying that they were doing the right thing. And
wow.
I mean, I was screaming my head off when Bill Barr got put in the admin. I was like, no,
that kind of makes sense now. So I have to ask, what happened to Janet Reno? What happened to anybody? Was there ever any accountability?
Well, I mean,
yeah. Besides that,
she's getting the same fiery treatment she gave those kids.
That's fair. I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. No, that makes total sense.
Sorry, guys.
But she was never held accountable.
No.
Oh my god.
Of course not.
Cool.
Yeah. When does that stuff ever happen?
Yeah.
I think it's funny as I read more and more like gun blogs. You know, I'm like learning about, you know, more about guns, living out in the middle of nowhere, and also buying weapons. And it's funny how many comments I see about the ATF and the jokes and the memes and the mockery about how like the laws make no sense. This one's too short, but it's also too long, so it can't exist. And then I watched a video from Demolition Ranch where he talks about the absurdity of this weapon. That's like it's a shotgun, but it's not a shotgun, so it's technically illegal, but it's not. It's just these people when they're it's, let me put it this way. Gun control makes no sense. When they claim that the same gun in like different styles, it becomes illegal if it's got like a pistol grip versus a rifle grip, but it's the exact same weapon firing the exact same thing at the exact same rate. There's a lot of people who point out how gun control seems to target scary weapons as opposed to actually functional weapons. And then you end up with ATF raids going after people for things that should not be illegal or quite literally makes no sense.
Yeah, and it's hard to know. Like, it's hard to know if you're accidentally breaking the law because the laws are changing all the time.
Seriously.
And they're doing.
Well, that's one thing Donald Trump did. Luke complains about it all the time. The bump stock ban made people criminals overnight without notice. Like, I'm sure there were a lot of people who had no idea what's going on politically.
Right.
And they might have a bump stock sitting in, you know, in their shed, not realizing it. And then they don't know what they bought. Maybe they got a bunch of different guns and stocks. And then they pass this law. This guy doesn't watch the news. And now what? Now he's a felon.
Yeah.
And if they go to his house, they're going to find it. He's going to go to prison or get fined, or they could throw tear gas in his house and kill his kids.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Depending on the degree to which this person has these items.
I kind of find it strange that it's alcohol, tobacco, and firearms all together.
And explosives.
Like, why alcohol? Why tobacco? What does tobacco have anything to do with guns? It's weird to me. Like, why wouldn't you just call it the F? Get rid of the alcohol. Make different divisions.
Yeah.
Make the F.
The FE.
Yeah.
The EF, the explosives and firearms.
Something like that. Yeah, something like get tobacco out of there. It doesn't have anything
nobody cares.
I understand the contraband running it in the
Yeah.
20s. When did they start the ATF? Was it like
Tobacco?
the late 20s? Yeah, it's so weird.
When was tobacco
It's
contraband?
never been contraband.
I don't
I
know.
think.
Yeah.
Oh, just in the U.S.? I don't know.
They really do got to
that's
change
regulated.
the ATF, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
They should get rid of the ATF.
Yeah,
I'm
about that.
sorry.
abolish the ATF.
Abolish the
If the
ATF.
left started with abolishing the ATF, every conservative would be like, yes.
We could totally find common ground on that.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Let's get rid of the IRS, ATF. I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
Reformation.
where is the left on abolishing the IRS? It's like leftists, I know you're all in favor of like taxation and stuff like that, but it is a government institution. Can we agree to get rid of that one?
Yeah, or the Fed.
Yeah.
We'll start with this, and then we'll work our way up, and we'll find where we hit that
Just
wall.
keep finding common
Maybe
ground.
the ATF goes, you know, maybe some of these, you know, agencies within DHS, maybe we stop somewhere, and then you guys get rid of a bunch of government institutions. We keep some of them. It's a win-win.
I
Right?
want to kind of get rid of Homeland Security. Didn't exist 30 years ago. I don't think it needs to exist now. They just created it after 9/11.
No, it brought things together. So it took a bunch of different agencies, then put them under one roof.
It's like the secret police. They're like the SS of the German Reich.
No, that's an extreme
Totally
exaggeration.
unnecessary. We already have the National Guard. We have like the Department of Defense. We don't need some new weird organization that's like quasi paramilitary.
Like the federal government shouldn't have its own police force.
Definitely not.
Why not?
What? Because it doesn't. Who do they adhere to?
What do you mean?
Like what jurisdiction is going to make sure they don't get out of line?
What
Federal government.
What do you mean? Like, what about any police officer then? Who's going to stop any cop from getting out of line?
The city, the state.
And so the feds have those same jurisdiction.
A federal police doesn't like answer to the state, though. That's the problem.
Yes, they do.
Well, technically, maybe, but
it's
don't.
jurisdictional debates. So in Washington D.C., for instance, and on federal jurisdiction, you need federal police. Like, if a dude shows up with a gun and starts shooting in D.C., who's going to arrest him?
I remember.
Have you noticed how the left is super pro FBI and feds now? Like, when I was on the left, we hated snitches, hated the FBI, and now all of a sudden they're like retweeting the FBI asking for snitches.
There-
And I'm like, You guys have
What
really
about
changed.
Homeland Security. What's that? That's another department?
Homeland Security is the parent for a bunch of different divisions.
So weird.
Like, I think ICE is within DHS, right?
Yeah,
FPS.
yeah.
CBP. We need Customs and Border Protection, bro. Otherwise, you get people kidnapping children. We need federal, was it Federal Police Service? Is that what it's called? FPS?
I think so, yeah.
In Washington, D.C., they have federal police. It's a federal jurisdiction. There would, like, you know,
I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about DHS, except that it didn't exist in 1998, and we were totally fine.
we got disconnected.
Weird.
We did?
Yeah.
Lame, but it's still recording.
I mean, we weren't fine. We got
What's up,
our
iTunes?
World
We're
Trade
back.
Centers got knocked down.
I
Someone was aggro about what I was talking
know,
about.
right?
I was speaking
There's,
the truth.
there's an ATF guy and he's calling the NSA and he's like, knock them off. Just a little
Oh, the
bit.
NSA is another weird one. That didn't used to exist either. They
Yeah, the
keep making
NSA
these
definitely
weird-
definitely
That could
creepy.
go.
Yeah,
That
no,
can
the,
go.
The NSA can go.
Bye.
Yeah,
I
we could team up on certain
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
They just won't do it because we're
I'm
not.
I'm just saying, like, DHS includes. That's what I was saying. Some departments, some agencies within DHS, because DHS is just a parent umbrella for a bunch of organizations. Like, we're getting kicked off. I think we're probably getting DDoSed.
Weird.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
because we were talking about the ATF. They're mad.
That's all it is.
maybe.
too much
Well, we
I
have
got
we have,
bot attacked when I was
we
going
have-
on about Waco the other day.
Listen, we have triple redundancy on the internet right now. So for those that are listening online, if we're cutting in and out, I'm not entirely sure. We have a triple redundancy on the internet. We have a really robust system that was built
And yet-
by this really smart feller. That's right. And when one network goes down, it switches rapidly, so we never get kicked off. For us to actually get booted off right now,
wild.
yeah, that's pretty wild.
Conspiracies abound.
Indeed.
No, it's not a conspiracy. there have been a variety of cyber attacks going on.
Yes,
for
they've
some
been
time.
having
Like,
fun.
We know that Gab got attacked recently.
Yeah.
So thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.